All right, welcome back to Genius. So, in this section, we have a project here. So we are building after we have gone through the DOM manipulation, DOM events, and stuff like that. Let us create a to-do list. All right, this is going to show us all the things that we have learned about the DOM, how to add element, create element, delete element, add classes, and stuff like that. So you can see that this to-do list. Um, This is it. This is how it works. So I can say, um, go to the market, go to the market, and if I hit enter, okay, it automatically adds it to to my list. All right. So this is my list. I can also add another one. Bring bring Junior back home. Bring Junior from school. Okay, if I hit enter again or I click on this add button, it adds it. It also gives me a button to delete each of them. So if you can see this checkbox, if I click on this checkbox, if I click on this checkbox, all right, it marks it done. All right. If I also click on it, it toggles it. Look at it, it toggles it. So I'm actually going to show you the code that we have here. And if I click on clear all right. If I click on one of them, it deletes it. If I click on this, it deletes it, and you can see that the clear all button is no longer available to for us because of course there's nothing to clear all again. So if I go on and do anything, blah blah blah, hit enter, okay. I go on and anything again, click on add. All right. So you can see I can toggle them as being done, and you can see there is a strike. Okay. So in this video, I'm just going to show you, we are just going to be reading the code. So, but there's going to be a separate project where I will build it from ground up, show you one after the other, the button, the functions, the JavaScript, the CSS, how we built everything from ground up. But in this video, we are just going to see the code and read it. Now, reading code is one very good important skill you need to have. If you're able to read somebody's code, that means you're good. You cannot or read and understand something that you're not good at. So let's go and then explain the code that we have right here, both the HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript. Then at the end of um, this week, we are actually going to build this project. So this particular chapter is going to have this project. Once we finish this particular chapter, all right, we will now build this project from ground up. Okay, so now let me go to my code. So this is the HTML file. All right, this is the HTML file. And then this is starting from, okay, of course, starting from the body, from the head, this is the title, and this is the link to my CSS file. All right, so now this is okay, maybe I could just bring this thing side by side. Hope it works for us. Okay, yeah, it is responsive. It is responsive. So I'll make this guy. Okay, and all right. You can see what we have here. Okay. So now this this body has this container, this div container. Okay. It has this div container that has this class, the class container here. So if I open my CSS, if I go to my CSS and then let's go to the class container. Okay. You can see this is the class container. All right, this is the container. And this container, we said we are using the width of the container is going to be 100%. That means we are taking 100% of the parent container. Remember, the parent container in this case is the body. All right, that's the parent container. So if I go, bring this guy out of here, please. So this is the body. So this container, if I go back to you see that this guy, the parent container is the body, and from our CSS file, we say take the width is 100%. That is why it is taking it. But we now say that the maximum width should not be more than 720. The maximum width should not be more than 720. That means if we expand this now, you can see that the maximum width is not more than 720. All right. The maximum width is not more than 720. Then the padding all round is 28 pixel. All right. The padding all round is 28 pixel. All right. So, and again, when we look at the body, all right, the body is using font family, all this font family. Margin is 0. Minimum height of the body is 100 VH. So we are taking, we say that the minimum height of this body is going to be the normal view, um, the 100%. As we're taking the minimum height is as in no matter how the content of the body is, we want the minimum height of this body to be 100 VH. That means we are taking all the height of the view screen. Okay, so this display is flex, and we are aligning items to be centered and then justify content to be. So that's why you see everything is centered. That is why you see it is centered. Okay, so the background color is using this linear gradient. We didn't talk about linear gradient. Okay, but yeah, we didn't talk about it in CSS when we did CSS, but it's something you can look up and see what it is. So we use its linear gradient, but basically the colors are not the gradient itself, you're not even seeing it that much. Okay, so and the color, the fore color is white. That is why you see the fore color is white. So that's what we have in the container and the body. So now if we expand the container, let's go deeper. So this is another div that has this card. So we only have one card inside of this div. So if I go to the CSS, now we have a div, all right, a div that the class of this div is card. So let's go and see how we style this card. So I'll close this body. I'll close this container. Now let's take a look at the card. I think I'll also close this, guys. So look at the card. We said that the background color is also we're also using linear gradient here for the background color. Okay. So the border radius, you can see that this card is look at the border radius. It has this border radius. Okay. So we use it to curve the edges. Of course, you know what border radius actually does. All right. So we use 12 pixel. Then the padding. Okay. So we are padding with 20 pixel all round. The padding, you know what padding is now. I don't need to explain it. Then boss shadow is something we didn't really talk about. All right, it's somehow advanced, but you can use it to make your yeah. We at least in that book, in the book we gave, there is boss shadow. Yes, I read that book, and if you read that book, you also have read something about boss shadow. So you can go on and read it again in case you. Of course, the thing is this, you don't have to cram everything. You don't have to. Most of these things, as you're even doing it, you are even getting used to it. So in case you have forgotten what boss shadow is, just go up and read it up. Refresh your memory on it. Fine, that is it. So go and take a look. So the boss shadow is just to make the edges, give it some style. So I'm not going to talk too much about it. Okay, so now this is the card. All right, this is the cast class. So now if I also go down, let's go and expand. So you can see that this to do is the one we have here, the H one we have here, and we have another paragraph. We have this paragraph. Okay, that's the one we have here. All right. Then so we now have another div. We now have another div. This div is the one that contains this input element. We have this div. So when you go inside this div, now this input row, you'll see that we have an ID, an input with an ID to do input. The type is test. The placeholder is what do you want today? Okay. So I think I should just maybe bring this guy down here. Okay. All right. So this area label is actually, we didn't talk about it in HTML, it's somehow advanced. So um, it's actually for accessibility. Okay. So, but I'm not going to discuss it since we didn't talk about it. All right. So now we now have another button inside of which is this add button. Okay. And then there's no class to it. It's just button. So when we go now, if we go to our CSS, we'll see that our button, this is the style we gave our button. All right. We gave our button a background color of this. I'm coming to this guy. I'm coming to this. The border is none. It won't have any border. All right. The padding is 10 pixel, 14 pixel. Border radius is 8 pixel. The color is this. The font weight is this. Size is bold. And the cursor, when you take your mouse close to it, the cursor turns to pointer. So now what do we, there's something we call CSS variables. Okay. So when you, just like in JavaScript, you have variables. So when you want to use a particular value repeatedly, you can put it in variables. So you can see that this accent guy here, this is where we declare the variable here. So instead of every time we are using this color, instead of repeating it every time, we just put it in a variable. So we use this root to create that. We said, okay, these variables are going to be available in this root. So in the root element. So here we are now using it. So CSS is going to evaluate this this function, and then get the value for us. So you can create variables in CSS, and then if you want to use the variables, you can actually use the var function to retrieve it. So this is the styling for the button. That's why we have this. Okay. So now I would collapse this. So when we take a look at the input role, this div has input role as a class. So let's go and see what we have in this input role. It's just nothing much. It's just the input role. Remember, this is the whole div. All right. So this is the whole div. So it just the display type is flex. So that is why you see that these guys they are not, instead of being on top of each other, they are just side by side using the flex display. Okay, that's why we have this input button, this input element and the button side by side. Okay. So the next thing we take a look at is the what's it called again? Unordered list. Okay. So far, the unordered list, it doesn't have any child. It has no children. But you will see that when we start adding, when we go to the JavaScript panels to explain the adding, okay, this add button, this add functionality, we were able to create elements. We were able to create this element dynamically, and we added it to this. So we are going to come to this later. Then the footer is this one. What do we have in here? We also have, this is the footer. All right. This is the footer. So we have the count of the items that are available. So we also, you're going to see that this item here, this text, the text content of this div, we also change it dynamically as we are working with the JavaScript. So this is the clear button. Okay, we also, if there's nothing in this, look at it. If I delete this and delete this, if there's nothing in the list, in the to-do list, this clear button will not be shown. So if I click on delete, you can see that we have nothing to clear. That is, the clear button should not be here. All right. So now this is the HTML. And then I think I've also shown you part of the CSS. So, oh my God, what happened? Sorry about that. Okay. So now, as we go on, most of these CSS were added dynamically. So as we go on, I'm also going to show you. Uh, Now you can actually request for this code. All right, you can request for this code. Just ask about it in the WhatsApp group. I will not just want to drop it, and I want you guys to that WhatsApp group to be interactive. So ask for the code in the WhatsApp group, and I will drop the code. Okay. So, what do we have here? So now, this is all I have explained what we have here, plus the CSS we have seen so far. So let's go to the JavaScript and see what we have in the JavaScript. So I'll go to JavaScript 5. So I'm going to collapse all of these functions. Okay, so clear button on the pad. Okay, so first thing first, all right. We are trying to get all the elements that we'll be using. So we are trying to get the input element. All right. So if you take a look at the ID of this input element is to do input. Where is it again? All right, this is it. To do input. So we are getting this input. All right, we are getting this input element. Okay, so we're also getting the add button. So remember now, we need to get them so that we can manipulate them. Okay, so the clear button, the count, the count element, that's this one here. All right, that's this one here. The clear button is not visible now because there is a CSS to it. Then, so we just got all the elements that we need to work with. We need to manipulate. Then we now created a constant value here, the storage key. Don't worry, you'll see what we'll be using it. The storage key used to store when we are storing um, our list to the local storage. Don't worry, I will explain that when we get there. So once we have done this, the next thing we are doing here is that we are loading all the to-dos. So the first time we load this page, we are loading all the to-dos that we have. So let's go to this function. So I'm going to right click and click on go to definition. So this is the function that is being called. But remember, this is function hoisting. We are using this function even before the declaration. So this is function hoisting, remember. Okay, so what were we doing? There's something we call local storage. We have not discussed about it yet, but we are going to discuss about it. So we use the local storage to store data. Instead of storing data in the database, okay, if we don't want to store in the database, we use the local storage to store data within the browser. So what we are doing here is that we are saying there is a method called get item. So when you say local storage.get item, don't worry, we'll talk about this local storage in another class. But for now, we are just getting the item and we are using this key. So this get item expects a string. So we already have this to do item. Instead of every time this to do item v1, instead of every time repeating it, we just stored it in a variable that is constant. We are not going to change it. So it's not going to change at all. So that's why we stored it in a constant, and this is the value. So when we get it, it will give us it will give us this it will give us the get item will return the JSON string. Remember, we talked about JSON and objects. This will give us a JSON string. So in order to convert this JSON string to an object, in order to convert it to an object, all right, we are using the JSON pass. So, but first of all, we are using the try catch. Don't worry, we'll talk about try catch when we talk about error handling. Okay. So the thing is this, in as much as we have not talked about this, you're still going to see them. Okay, but we need to use it. So we're using the try catch to catch any error that might result from this expression here. So we are saying if this row, remember the ternary operator, if this row is not empty, it's not null. If it's not null, we would do this. We will pass because it's possible that we have not stored anything, especially the first time we load the application. It's possible that we have not stored anything. So this is going to give us a null. If you can see, this says it either returns string or null. So it either returns the JSON string or it returns a null, a null. So if this is null, all right, then we want to call, if this is not null, sorry, if this is not null, so we want to call this, but if it is null, we want to return an empty array. Another thing we could do here is we could even use the okay. What I wanted to say will not work. All right. Okay. So now this is perfect. All right. So we are passing the JSON string to, we are converting it to an object. So this to do will return an object. So it is returning it is returning whatever we have. It could either return the JSON object that we got from this function, this method, or it returns an empty array. So in this case, the first time we are loading it is returning an empty array. Don't worry. When I code this thing in the project, you're going to understand better. All right. Okay. So, but if there is any error, we are writing to the console, that's to the browser console, that there was an error, we couldn't load the to-dos. So this is the load to-dos method. So that's what we called here. So after we have loaded it, what do we do? So once we have loaded this function, so it's either that these to-dos, because this is returning is returning either an array, an empty array, or an array of to-dos. So this is either going to be whatever we get. So what were we going to do? After we have called this function and return the to-dos, it's either an empty array or we have the to-dos. We are calling the render function. So this is the render function here. So what are we doing here? First of all, we are getting this list element. Look at this list element is the to-do list. So if we go back, the list element is this one, this UL. Do you understand? This is the another list. So we are getting it. All right. So once we get it, we will remove everything. The first time we render this, we are the inner HTML. That means we are removing everything it has to be an empty string. Then we will now check if the to-dos dot length. Now this to-dos is an array, is going to return an array. It's either an empty array or an array of to-dos object. If the length is 0, all right. So what we are doing here is that we are using the not operator, all right? So to-do.length would either give us 0 or 1 or more than 1. So remember FOSSI values. So if this to-do.length is 0, that means it's FOSSI. And when we use this negation operator, so it will negate anything that is the result of this expression. So if this is false, it will convert it to true. If it is true, it will convert it to false. All right. So once we do this, what do we get? So if this is true, if this whole expression evaluates to true, that means we don't have anything in the to-do. We don't have any to-do list. We don't have anything in the to-do list. So what will happen is that we are creating an element. So we are creating a div element called the empty. We will call it empty. So we are now styling it. We say empty.style.padding. So empty.style.opacity 0.7. All right. It will be the opacity will be it will not be 100% visible. So we are adding padding to it. The text content is no task here. That's what we have here. Because right now the to-do list is empty, the length is 0, and that means 0 is a falsy value. So this negation operator will now change it to true. That means we'll get into this block of code. So that is why we now have something like, so we created a div. All right, as we created the div, we styled it, gave opacity, gave padding, and we gave a text content of no tags yet as something. And then we added it, this div, we added it to the list element, this UL, the another list that we have. Okay. So we appended it to that's why we have it here. And then we are saying, we're also getting the button. Maybe I should just take this thing up to where every other guy is. I will take it to where Okay, we already have it. Okay, we have the clear button. The clear all button is here. So there's no need, oh, sorry, my bad. Okay, so now we have the clear all button. Okay, we have the clear all button. All right, we have it here. So, and then I'm adding a class to it. So I'm adding this class hide button. So if this list is empty, all right, there's no need to show this clear button anymore. So I'm adding a class to it. And if we go to our CSS and say what that class, the class hidden, hide button says display none. So don't display it. So we are saying if this, when we are rendering this, the list, the to-dos, if it is empty, don't add a class to this clear all button, and that class display displays it to be none, so it will not be displayed. So this is if it is true, if this expression is true. But if this expression is not true, that means we have something. That means we have some to-dos. So we now loop through each and every one of the to-dos that we have. So as we're looping through it, we are creating an element. All right, we are creating an element, we are creating a list element, and then we are also creating a div element. So the list element is called li, the div is called left. So we are adding a class to this left, and then the class here is, let's go to our CSS left. So we said the display is flex, gap is 12, and align items is center. So now let me create something so that we have something. So when I add, you can see now that this div, hmm, all right, is the container for everything we have here. So now what are we doing? After we if for each of the to-dos that we have inside of this our to-dos, we are looping through and we are creating an element for each and every one of them, and we are appending. So we have created this div, gave it a class name, then we are creating another div again. All right, this div is going to be for this checkbox. So we are saying the class name is checkbox. All right, and the tab index is 0. We are setting attribute to be row, to be button. So we are the role of this is actually we didn't talk about this in our HTML. It's somehow advanced. So we are creating a row. We are giving giving it an attribute called row, and the name of the role is button. So this checkbox will be acting like a button. Okay. So has to do with some things about with accessibility, but we didn't talk about accessibility, okay, in HTML. So we're also creating another attribute, area label, and this area label, all right, the value is going to depend on if the to-do list is done. We will say if the to-do list, if this particular to-do, the done property is true, so we will say mark as not done. But if it is not true, we mark it as done. Okay. So that is label. This is just for accessibility, but the value of this label will be based on this. If this guy is true, we'll say mark as not done. But if it is false, we say mark as done. Then this particular div, all right, we have it in check here. We'll say the inner check is equal to the inner HTML. You know what inner HTML is now. So the inner HTML is either this or this based on if this is true, if this guy is done, all right, the inner HTML will be this string, or else it will be an empty string. So if I go on now and click on this to make it done, you can see that while I clicked on it, I toggled it, it has become done. The property has become done. So we also now said if if we do key down and we press enter, okay. So if the key down If the key is enter or the key is empty string, so toggle it. Toggle, so call this button. Okay. So um okay. So but for some reason it's not really working well. It's not because the key. Oh, okay. For some reason, this is not really working as I expect. Okay. Okay. So there's an event listener here that's listening to the key down um of this thing. So we were saying if it is enter, it should toggle it, but it's not toggling. Okay. All right. Um, so what is only working is it's only the click that is working. This other one is not working. So let me remove it, or let me just comment it out. Okay, so since it's not working, all right. So it is only the key on the click. If you click it, it toggles it. So if I go to the toggle done, if I go to the toggle done is just what it's doing is it is toggling it. So what we are saying, we are mapping through, we are using the map function, and we are saying, in this case, let me format this so that, okay. So we are saying for each and every to do, all right, and we gave this to do, this toggle done has an ID, has a parameter. So we are saying if this to do for each on for each we are mapping through this to do. So for each of them, if the ID if the ID of this to do is equal to the ID that we have provided here, all right, if this condition is true, all right, what do we want to do? We are using the rest operator we are creating a new object, all right, and then we are using the spread operator to put everything inside that we already have in this to do, all the properties. Then what we are doing here, we are saying keep every other property intact. Don't change any property of this particular to do, but just change the DOM property. Only change the DOM property. So if we are toggling it, so if the done is true, make it false. If it is false, make it true. All right. This could be tough for you to grab, but try as much. If you really understand the small things we have talked so far, of course, we talked about the map, all right, and we talked about this negation operator now. So we also talked about the spread operator. Okay, so we are actually creating a new object here, but in this case, we are saying keep every other property intact, and then change the DOM property of this. Okay. So if I go back to what's it called again? Where are we? Show. Okay. All right. So we are so on the click of this check uh on the click of this div, this on the click of it toggle the DOM. That is really what is happening here. All right. That's what's happening here. So after that, we are creating another div. All right. We are creating another div. And then we are adding a class name to this div. Adding a class name tags plus. Then based on, we are concatenating. So the class name is dynamic. So we are concatenating. If this to do is true, so we are saying tags done, or else it's going to be only task. So you should understand this code. This is string concatenation. All right. And say we are saying this class name, it will be tax plus anything that we get here based on the result. So if this to do done is true, we'll add done to this task. It will not be task done, else it will only be task. So let's go and see the class. We have the task and we have the task done. Okay. So this is just, there's nothing much here. Okay. So if the task is done, all right, we have a class that is under a class. So we are using this to get this. So once this, if this thing is done, that is why we are striking. Look at it. This thing is being striked, line through. The line through strike it and make it look at it, the opacity reduces. If I changes this thing to the opacity to be 1, you will see that the opacity of this that www will be, you can see it is big, it is bold now. But let's take it back to 0.6. All right, that's what it was. So I'll take it back. It has gone back to being, yeah. So we are, you see, so we added the class name tags. Okay. Okay, so there's something I would just want to do. So yeah, I could say um okay, sorry, there's something I just want to do here. Dots, okay. So I'll go back to my HTML and add. Don't bother what I'm doing here. If you don't understand it, it's okay. It's just okay, all right? So I'm going to add this class because class is equal to delete. So I was trying this thing. Oh, okay. No, 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 not here. Yeah, I think I was trying this thing earlier before I started this class, but I wasn't getting what I was okay. So this is where I'm supposed to put it. Aha. All right. Okay. So I wanted it to have this look. So I think I get what I'm looking for now. So yeah, that is it. That is it. That's cool. That's cool. All right. Okay. So now we have appended so here we have actually, so the test content, so now this particular span that we have created, okay, the test content of it is now the test of this to do. That's what we have here. So this to do is an object, all right. So it has a test property and it also has a done property. So we are now saying that get this span that we just created now, make the test content to be this. That's what we have here, okay. So now we are saying we are now adding this particular check div to the left to this other one. We are adding it, appending it, also appending the child. So the check and the span is um this one and this one. All right. And if you take a look at this left, right, this left guy, we added a class to it, and the class this makes everything inside of it to be display flex. I know this can be a lot for you to grab, but don't worry. When we let's conclude this week, then this chapter. Okay, then we will now recreate. We're also going to after this one. The next thing we're going to do is the weather app. So we also create the weather app. All right. To conclude, we create another project, the weather app. But the thing is that I'm going to be explaining. I will just read code like this. Then after that, I will now create the project will be part. You will get the project. Once we are done, we'll get the project on the chapter page. If you're confused, talk to us in the WhatsApp group so that we can show you, or talk to me directly. All right. So now, after we have appended all these things, so we are now creating another button. That's this button here. We say create button. We creating a button element, and we are adding a class to it, delete class. We are the test content of this button is delete, which is this one. And then we are adding an event listener to it. On the click of the on the click of this button, we want to remove this to do. So let's go to this to do function. So this remove to do function is just, we are just filtering. If I click on delete, it will filter. It will filter based on the ID of this to do. It will filter based on the ID, and any of the ID that does not manage it to filter it. We talked about the filter method. So after that, we call the save to do, and we'll render again. So this is the save to do here. We are saving it back to the local storage. All right, we are saving it back to the local storage, and then we are going to this local storage thing, we are going to learn about it. Don't worry, you'll learn about it. Okay, we'll learn about it. Okay, so that's it. We'll set it, we'll save it, and we'll render it again. So we after saving it, we'll render. So when we remove this, all right, you see, when we remove it, we save it. This thing that I just did not have, oops, it has affected my code here. So I think I would um it has affected. So let me just let me not cause confusion. Let me remove this. Let me remove it. Okay. Oh, all right. So don't worry. Don't worry. I'll fix it. This only happens. What? What did I do? Okay. What happened? What happened? What happened? So, oh my God, my code has broken. So, yes, now when there is no to do, add a class name, hide button. Is my hide button not still available? Okay, 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 okay. Okay, I get it. I get it. I guess I'll just have to remove this from here. Hmm. Okay, sorry. Okay, it's back. Okay, but I wanted it to look the other way, but it's okay, Sha. It's okay. I don't want to waste too much time on debugging and debugging and doing stuff like that. So you can see what our render actually does for us. So at the end of the day, it will append um, it would append this object, this left div to the list item that we have created, the list element we created. After appending it, it will also append the delete button to the list area. Then at the end of the day, we are now appending this list to the main another list the parent of it. So after that, of course, there is no need for this. We already have it. Repetition is bad. Okay, so it's it calls this. So after it, so after adding all these things, it will now it will now update the count element, which is this one that we have here. It will update the content to be based on the length of this to do. If the length is equal to 1, we'll say we'll create one item. If it's not equal to 1, we'll do the number of the to do items. Do you understand? So this is something you should know about. I don't think I don't need to explain too much about what this code is really doing. So this is ternary operator. So if this expression is true, all right, if this expression is true, this will be one item. Else, if it's not true, we are using the string literal to enter the number of items here. The to do the this will whatever this thing evaluates to, we just say zero. In this case, 0 items, 2 items, 3 items, something like that. All right. So that's basically it. We have seen the remove to do. We have seen the save to do what it does. We have seen all these functions. We have seen what the load to do does. So I think basically we have talked about all the functions. So now let's talk about handle add. Okay, so it is not it's handle add. Okay, so now, okay, on the click of this add button, there is an event listener to it. So on the click of this add button, all right, there's an event listener. So that's the handle add. So first of all, it gets this input. Remember, we got it already here. So it will get the value and trim it. So in case you have spaces, this trim method will trim it. So in case I have some spaces like this and then type something and then spaces here, all right, something like this, it will trim it for me. It will trim this trim method will trim, remove the leading and trailing white spaces. Then on the click of this button, it will make if the if this text is empty, all right, it will just make it will return this input to be focused. So let's say this is empty. Okay, let me take it out. Let's say this is empty. If I click on this add button, all right, that's the click event. This handle add will be called. First of all, it will check. If I click on this add button now, it will check if the content or the value of this input element, if it is empty, it will now call the focus property method on this input. So look at it. If I click on it, bam, because it is empty, it now returned input.focus. So it now made me to focus. It now focuses the thing to this input, because the focus method on this to make this, that's what you saw here. Now that's the interaction you already see here. So, but if it is not empty, all right, if it is not empty, it will create a to-do object. You can see this is an object. This object, okay, let me just make it to be more readable. Okay. So this is an object with two properties. So the ID, we are using the date value. So we are not talking about the date object, but this will give us the current date, the time, the seconds, everything. So we are converting it to a string. Then that will be the value of this ID. Then the text. Now, we also have, so the text, this text property would be the value we got here if it is not empty. Then the dump value will be false by default. Okay, so we'll talk about the structuring and stuff like that. So you can see this object. Now you will be confused. Am I not supposed to give value to this test? I'm supposed to say test the value is something like this. Yes, you're correct. But whenever a property of an object has the same name with the value, in this case, this test, once you can see two of them are the same, you can just take it out and just put it one like the JavaScript will do the rest for you. Instead of saying test and I say colon test, I'll just have to use JavaScript to go and evaluate, look for a variable that has the same name with this and then give it as a value. So once I do this, all right, once I have created this item, this to-do item, now this is a to-do object. I am using, remember this is an array, and I'm calling the onShift method. What does the onShift method do in an array? It would add this item at the start. It will add it at the start of the array. Remember the push method and the onShift method. The push method will add an item to the array at the end of the array, while the onShift will add item at the beginning of the array. So after that, after we have added it, we are look at what we are doing here. We are emptying this input value. Immediately we add it, we will call this and say, okay, we want the value to be, take it back to empty string. So look at it. If I type blah, blah, blah here, and if I click this add now, first of all, this input value will no longer be empty. It will no longer be empty. All right. Remember, if this is just ternary operator, this is just this test. If this test is empty, that means it's going to be false, which means it's going to be false. Then we negate false, we'll get true. That's when we enter here. But now, since this test is not false, it is truthy because it has a value. In this case, we have blah, blah, blah inside here. It is truthy. So when we negate it, a true value negated will be false. That means this code will not run. I mean, this code will not run. So it comes down here, create this item, and then as this to the to-do array, then it will empty. It will remove, it will just empty the value of this input element and then calls the save to do. Once it calls this item will be added to the to-dos. Okay. And then we'll call the render method. So it will now render what we are seeing here. Okay. So if I click add immediately, you can see this save to do was called, and it created this new DOM element, and then the render also had this guy here. Okay, so let me take you back to save to do what it does. It just because we have already added this item to this to do array, we are just telling JavaScript, okay, look for this particular guy, add this to it. So don't worry, when we talk about local store, you understand this code better. So, and then after saving it, we are calling the render method. What will the render method do? The render method will come and check if this to-do list is empty. In this case, it's not empty. It will now look through all of them one by one and do all this thing over and over again. So, guys, you have seen how crazy this is. We have basically touched everything we have here, all the classes that we also have here. So this, in this case, this media query is just for responsiveness. So in the container, if the width is 520, maximum of 520, the container should be, we are just changing the padding here. So that is basically what it is. We have seen most of the everything we have here. Okay. So at the end of this chapter, at the end of this whole JavaScript chapter, we will have the project will be out. In that project, I'll be creating this thing one by one. I will create it from scratch. So, but it is also good for you to read code and understand code. So what you're going to do is this. Ask for this file, the HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript files. All right, ask for them, or even this folder, ask for them, I'll give them to you. All right, and then go and read it yourself. Try to understand this code. If you don't understand, as you're reading the code, if you don't understand it, reach out to me. Yes, reach out to me and ask me the question, oh, what does this code, explain this code for me. You need to learn how to read codes. You need to learn how to read codes. Do you understand? You need to learn how to read code. It's going to be, because the thing is that most times, some applications you might not be the originator of you might not be the author of that code. So what if somebody gives they were given a project that another person has written, and you have to maintain that project? That means you have to read that person's code, understand what the person has put in that code, and then you will now make changes that you would want to make. Do you understand? So you need to learn how to read code. So we are going to end it here. If you have any question, of course, request for this code. And as you're reading it, if you have any question, reach out to me. All right, I will answer your questions. Okay. So, and then, like I said, I'm going to build this thing from scratch when we get to, once we finish this this chapter, once we finish this chapter, this JavaScript in day 11 to day 30, once we finish it, we are going to, this project, we are going to have a project, and each and every one, I will build it from scratch, line after line, one after the other. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, and I will see you in the next class.